What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a fresh hour of CBS Sports HQ. I'm Jacqueline D'Agostino alongside Haley Sutton. Week 3 of the NFL, it is officially here. We have 10 teams that are sitting at 2-0, 3 of them, by the way, in the AFC West. All right, stand up, AFC West.
Starting us off strong there. It's interesting. You mentioned it was an exciting week. We're looking ahead to an exciting week 3, but week 2 was brutal, Jacqueline, in terms of the injuries and who got hurt. We know Joe Burrow. That was a tough one, right? Khalil Mack last night. It could impact the playoff picture going forward, right? We know Burrow and the Bengals have been down this road on the opposite side when they're 0-3, but history on their side. They start the year 0-2, and teams that get off to that kind of start typically fare pretty well. As you see the number, over 64% of those teams go on to make the playoffs. So good news there if you're Bengals fans, as well as the Bills, the Eagles, the Packers. I mean, look at that, Jacqueline. 99% chance for the Buffalo Bills to make it to the postseason. Not surprising when you think about how well they've been playing. But on the other side of this matchup, teams that start the season 0-2, just over 12% shot at making the postseason. And there are some surprising teams on this list, namely the Kansas City Chiefs. Their first 0-2 start since 2014. That was also the last time they missed the playoff. They are now the first team in NFL history to start 0-2 after a 15-plus win season. I will add, though, Jacqueline, that 3 teams have won the Super Bowl after an 0-2 start. My Dallas Cowboys did it in '93, New England, and the Giants.
All right, the Colts, a 79% chance to make the playoffs. You saw it there, and that was the game-winning field goal for Indy to beat the Broncos in week 2. We got a fresh set of Pete Prisco's power rankings. The biggest riser in those power rankings, well, that belongs to the Colts, up 8 spots to number 10. And a cool stat here, they're just the second team in the Super Bowl era with 0 punts and 0 turnovers in back-to-back games. So let's look at those power rankings. The top 7 here, 1 through 10, top 7 remain unchanged. The Niners moving up 1 spot there to number 8. The Rams rising 4 spots to number 9. And then, as mentioned, the Colts sitting there at number 10. The Lions are on the outside looking in. They're sitting at number 12. They somehow moved down a spot despite absolutely destroying the Bears, beating Chicago 52-21 on Sunday. Yes, that's a real score. We had some questions about how this offense would look with Ben Johnson, now the head coach of the Chicago Bears, after that week 1 loss to the Packers for Detroit. But I mean, that offense looks more like the one that we saw last year. So no Ben Johnson, no Biggie, question mark? I don't know. The Lions sitting at 1-1, coming off a 50-burger. Yet, in the power rankings, they are behind the 0-2 Chiefs. The Chiefs are sitting at number 11 in Pete's power rankings. Kansas City is starting 0-2 for the first time during the Patrick Mahomes era, and we kind of talked about it. 12% of 0-2 teams since 1990 have made the playoffs. I feel like Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes could kind of figure it out if anybody could.
That's why I mentioned that the teams that went on to win the Super Bowl in that same year.
You know what? Pete says they're going to be, quote, fine. As mentioned, here you go. Chiefs sitting at number 11. Yeah, straight to the point, right? That's our guy, Pete. Biggest faller, though, in the power rankings, that belongs to my Jacksonville Jaguars after they lost to the Bengals and their backup quarterback down to number 19.
Right there with my Dallas Cowboys. We love to see it. We have not seen the Miami Dolphins on Pete's power rankings yet. Listen, the swag, not enough anymore in South Florida. The fire Mike McDaniel, fire Chris Greer chants are everywhere, whether it's a banner above Hard Rock, comments on social media. They want the capri pants and the Air Forces out. As you take a look at the Dolphins, they're currently sitting at 27. And really, I believe they're up a couple of spots here, 1 spot, but it's only because, Jacqueline, look at the teams that are behind them. The Browns, the Jets, the Titans, the Panthers, and, of course, the Saints. And, of course, when we talk about the hot seat, no surprise, Mike McDaniel is sitting up there at the top, according to our team over at CBSSports.com, ahead of Brian Daboll, who, I don't know, man, Russell Wilson looking like a superhero out there against my Dallas Cowboys, but still questions about whether or not he will keep his job. We have a lot of questions, and thankfully, we've got our NFL insider, Jonathan Jones, here, who has the latest when it comes to some of those questions, including the Miami Dolphins head coach. JJ, what more can you tell us about Mike McDaniel's status heading into that Thursday night football game against Buffalo?
Look, I've been doing this long enough, Haley, to never say that someone is definitively safe, right? We can always be surprised in the NFL. I'll say this, it would surprise me if something happens to Mike McDaniel or anyone, any member of the brain trust of the Miami Dolphins with a loss on Thursday night to the Buffalo Bills. Yes, the Miami Dolphins beginning 0-2, staring 0-3 right in the face against a team in the Buffalo Bills who have controlled their division. It's still early in the season, okay? And look, I get it. I understand that things don't look great right now for the Miami Dolphins. It feels like things aren't going to get that much better. But look right here at the schedule. Week 4, you're going to have a long layoff between weeks 3 and 4, right? You play on Thursday. Let's call that a loss, 0-3. You face the Jets team. They should have Justin Fields back by then. He's in concussion protocol. We'll see. But that's a game that the Dolphins could win. Week 5 against the Carolina Panthers, struggling. That's a game they could win. If at that point after week 5, the Dolphins are 0-5 for the first time since the 2019 season, I think that's where you start to set in with the panic, with the alarms, with the sirens. But right now, short week, heads are down, they're working hard. I know that the stats say that if you start 0-2, that you may as well just not even play the rest of the season, but it's still early for the Miami Dolphins. So even with a loss, again, could always be surprised, but I'd be surprised.
I will add, we'll push ahead on the topic, but Mike was asked about this after the game, and he said, quote, "If I worry about my job security, I won't be doing my job, and I think that inherently it's against all the things that I believe in." So obviously he's aware that the seat is heating up according to the fan base, but to your point, JJ, we will wait and see. I do want to ask you, though, about Tom Brady, who is quickly becoming one of the more polarizing topics in the National Football League. The broadcaster and minority owner was spotted last night in the Raiders coach's box with a headset on during Vegas's Monday Night Football loss to the Chargers. What have you heard from teams about Brady, specifically with that situation and how it's moving forward?
So the NFL earlier today released a statement where they said Tom Brady did not run afoul of any NFL rules. As a part owner, he can be in the coach's box. He can be wearing a headset. And yes, while he does participate in production meetings remotely and virtually, it is up to the players and the coaches and the coordinators to whom he speaks on what they say to him. And so in talking with folks around the league, I'll tell you this anecdotally, the teams that have the Raiders on their schedule are a little more upset about this than the teams who don't have the Raiders on their schedule. We know that the Raiders have the Washington Commanders coming up this week. And of course, Tom Brady was on the call for the Commanders' Week 1 game. Well, it's no secret, it's no surprise that Tom Brady is heavily involved in the operation with the Las Vegas Raiders. We knew that last year. We certainly knew that in Week 1. And so that should have been in the back of the minds of the people with the Washington Commanders, for example, if and when they were speaking to Tom Brady 2 weeks ago, right? Maybe not revealing all of their plans, knowing that the part owner of the team that they would play 2 weeks later is the guy that they're speaking to right there. And now, of course, this week, Tom Brady calling a Chicago Bears game while in Week 4, the Chicago Bears are playing, guess who? The Las Vegas Raiders. Well, in that virtual production meeting, perhaps the Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson don't divulge all the secrets to their universe in speaking with Tom Brady. So again, some folks that I speak to, especially if they don't have the Raiders on their schedule, they're basically saying, well, what do you expect? And the teams that do have the Raiders on their schedule, a little miffed.
Who would have thought, JJ? We appreciate your time and your insight here, all things NFL, as Week 3 gets underway later this week. Hey, everyone loves a little throwback, including our NFL Today crew. And Sunday, September 21st, marks the 50th anniversary of the show on CBS. We're taking you back in time to celebrate. It all culminates Sunday with a vintage edition of the show, special guests, retro graphics, and a virtual recreation of the old 1975 set. You don't want to miss it. Sunday, 12 o'clock Eastern on CBS.